How you begin the week is usually how you live it. Most people roll into Monday like it's just another day. No plan, no focus, no energy. And then they wonder why the whole week feels off. If that's been happening to you, it's time for a reset. This is how you should begin every week. With intention, with discipline, with a clear mind. You don't need a big plan. You just need to stop doing what doesn't work and start doing what does. Ask yourself, are you waking up with purpose or just reacting to everything around you? Are you choosing how your week starts, or are you letting habits and distractions run the show again? It doesn't take a miracle. It takes small, honest steps. This video will show you exactly how to take those steps, one by one. If you want the next 7 days to count, this is where it starts. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, right now. Number 1, wake up and fix what you've been ignoring. That's how you start the week if you want it to count. You don't begin your week with distractions or with more of what didn't work. You start by facing the things you've been avoiding. That's the difference between a person who grows and a person who stays stuck. It's not about being perfect. It's about getting honest with yourself on a Monday morning before life starts moving again. Ask yourself this: what have you been putting off? What needs your attention but keeps getting pushed aside? Maybe it's a conversation you don't want to have. Maybe it's your finances. Maybe it's your health. Or maybe it's your own behavior that you're tired of but haven't dealt with. You know what it is. Nobody needs to tell you. You feel it. And that's where you start. This is about taking control again. People lose control of their life slowly by ignoring the small things over and over. One day of putting it off becomes 2. A week becomes a month. And before you know it, you feel behind. You feel overwhelmed. That's not how your week should start. Your week should start with truth. Face the things that have been quietly stealing your progress. You've got to sit down and look at your reality, not the version you tell others, not the one you pretend is okay, but the real one. If something is out of order, fix it. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for pressure. Don't wait for life to force you to act. You have to be the one to take that first step. That's called personal responsibility. That's called maturity. That's what makes you different from people who are always behind. Start by cleaning up your physical space. You can't think clearly in clutter. You can't feel calm in chaos. A messy room or a messy desk isn't just a mess. It's a reflection of what you've been avoiding. Don't overlook this. People think it doesn't matter, but it does. When your environment is out of order, your mind follows it. So take 20 minutes, clean up, throw away what you don't need, put things back in place. You're telling your mind, I'm in charge again. Then look at your commitments. Are you following through on what you said you would do? Are you keeping your word to others and to yourself? That's where most people fall. They get good at pretending they're busy, but they're not following through. If you said you'd start the gym last week and didn't, then face it, write it down. Don't brush it off, fix it. Don't set another new goal until you've kept the old one. You can't build self-respect on broken promises. Next, deal with your money. Most people ignore their finances until they have no choice but to face them. That's a mistake. Don't wait until your card gets declined. Don't wait until debt catches up. Start your week by checking your bank balance, reviewing your spending, and making a plan. It's not about being rich. It's about being responsible. When you look at your money, you stop living in fear. You stop guessing. You stop hiding. And you start taking ownership. And then fix your habits. Stop pretending you're going to get better just because time passes. Change doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you look at the way you've been living and decide you've had enough. If you've been waking up late, fix it. If you've been eating junk, fix it. If you've been scrolling for hours instead of working, fix it. Your week begins when your discipline returns. This is what real change looks like. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It's quiet. It happens when you say, I'm not carrying this into another week, and you do something about it. You also need to look at your relationships. Who have you been avoiding? Who do you need to check in with? Who do you need to stop talking to? This part is hard, but it matters. Sometimes the thing we ignore is a person, a conflict we don't want to face, or a boundary we've been too afraid to set. If someone is taking your peace away and you keep allowing it, your progress will suffer. So begin the week with courage. Make the phone call, send the message, set the boundary, clear the air. This is how grown people live. This is how you stop living on autopilot. And don't forget your mind. What have you been thinking about that's dragging you down? What thoughts have you let sit there without checking them? Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's doubt. Maybe it's fear. Whatever it is, if you don't confront it, it becomes your mindset, and your mindset becomes your life. So take a few minutes, sit in silence, listen to your thoughts, then decide which ones are helping you and which ones are not. You don't have to believe everything you think. You don't have to keep repeating the same inner story. You can change the channel. See, the real work happens in the first hour of the week. Most people spend it scrolling, rushing, distracted. But the ones who grow, they spend that time resetting. That's what this is, a reset. Not for the sake of a ritual, but because if you don't reset, you carry last week's baggage into this week's potential. And that's a tragedy. Every week is a new opportunity, but only if you treat it like one. So don't wait for things to fall apart. Don't wait for someone to push you. Start pushing yourself. That's what builds pride. That's what builds power. You'll feel it. When you fix something you've been avoiding, even something small, your whole mood changes. Your confidence rises. Your energy shifts. You walk differently because now you're not just hoping for a better week. You're building it. You're shaping it with your own hands. You don't need to do everything today. Just start. Start with what you know needs fixing. Start with what's been bothering you. Start with the thing you keep putting off. That's where your power is. That's where your week begins. And if you keep doing this, every Monday, every start of the week, you won't need big motivation speeches. You won't need someone to remind you of your goals because you'll already be ahead. You'll be the one setting the pace, the one living with intention, the one who gets results, not because they're lucky, not because they're special, but because they stopped ignoring what matters. That's how you begin the week. You face what you've been avoiding. You fix what you've been letting slide. And you walk into the rest of the week like someone who means it. That's how real progress is made. That's how strong people live. And that's how you earn your next breakthrough. Number 2, check your bank balance and face your reality. That's the kind of decision that separates the serious from the careless. You can't afford to keep turning away from what's real. If you want to live a stronger life, you have to look directly at the numbers you've been avoiding. Not just when things are good, especially when they're not. Most people carry financial stress like a silent weight, and they avoid the truth, thinking it'll buy them peace. But what it really does is steal control. The more you ignore it, the more it grows. The more you guess, the more it slips away. Your week doesn't begin with a dream, it begins with a check-in. This isn't about being rich, it's about being responsible. And most importantly, it's about getting honest with yourself. When you log into your bank account first thing Monday morning, you're not just looking at digits. You're looking at your choices. You're facing what your habits have produced. That's the wake-up call many people run from. But you shouldn't be one of them. You need to see where you stand, not where you wish you were. That's how change starts, with facts, not feelings. Some people scroll through social media before they even brush their teeth, but they haven't even checked their financial health. How can you plan a week? How can you make good decisions if you're operating in the dark? How do you move forward when you haven't even looked at what's in front of you? Money isn't just about spending, it's a mirror. It reflects how you think, how you live, what you value, and what you avoid. You want more freedom? You want to stop living paycheck to paycheck? Then you have to stop pretending you don't know where it all goes. Open the app, look at the balance. Go through your last 7 days. How much did you spend on things that gave you no return? How much was necessary? How much was just to distract yourself from what really needs attention? This kind of honesty is rare. That's why people stay stuck. But you can't grow if you're not willing to confront the reality you created. You've got to learn to be uncomfortable with the truth, because it's in that discomfort where real discipline is born. If your account is low, don't just feel bad about it. Don't spiral. Don't start blaming. That doesn't fix anything. What you do is ask yourself, what can I control this week? Maybe it's cooking instead of eating out. Maybe it's saying no to another mindless subscription. Maybe it's not buying that thing you always convince yourself you need, but never really use. Those small choices, those are the turning points. And if your account looks healthy, don't get lazy. Don't get soft. Don't start relaxing just because you have a buffer. That's another trap. Comfort is what kills progress when it comes to money. A high balance doesn't mean you're free. It means you've bought yourself time to make better decisions. Keep track. Don't lose focus. If you made progress last week, don't celebrate too early. Build on it. Stack wins. That's how strong financial behavior becomes normal. People avoid looking at their money because they attach too much emotion to it. They feel shame, they feel regret, they feel overwhelmed. And so they look away, but looking away doesn't erase the facts. The charges are still there. The habits are still active. The impact is still real. It's better to feel uncomfortable for 10 minutes and face it than to live with quiet stress for another week. You know what happens when you check your bank balance and realize you're not where you thought you were? You stop lying to yourself. You stop saying, I'll handle it later. You stop pretending things are fine, and you start moving differently. You walk into your day with a stronger sense of what matters. You skip the nonsense. You stop spending just to feel good, because now you're working with numbers, not wishes. Checking your balance every week trains your brain to stay alert. It sharpens your judgment. It reminds you that success is built on awareness. If you're serious about improving your life, you have to take control of this area, not next month, not when it's urgent. Every week, every Monday, without fail. It doesn't matter how much you make. What matters is how you manage. Some people make more money than you and stay broke because they never look at the damage they're doing. They keep swiping. They keep dodging the truth. But the people who rise financially, they check in regularly. They monitor, they track, they adjust. That's not luck, that's leadership, that's maturity. And this isn't just about tracking income and expenses. This is about seeing the bigger picture. Are you building anything with your money, or are you just surviving? Are you investing in your future, or just reacting to the present? Are you preparing for growth, or barely staying afloat? These are the questions that don't get asked when people avoid their financial reality. The strongest people I've seen are not the ones with the highest income. They're the ones who don't hide from their numbers. They look at their reality and they use it as fuel. They don't let embarrassment stop them. They don't waste time with excuses. They just say, okay, this is where I'm at. Now what's the next move? That kind of clarity makes you powerful. So take 10 minutes, start your week the right way, sit down, open your account, look at the truth, write down what needs to change, make one decision that brings you closer to peace. Because financial stress doesn't disappear on its own. You either manage it or it manages you. You either face it or it keeps showing up in your anxiety, your sleep, your focus, and your energy. The earlier in the week you take control, the more power you have. You won't waste energy avoiding it all week. You won't walk around with tension in your shoulders. You'll know where you stand. You'll know what needs to be done. That kind of clarity is rare, but it's possible, and it starts with one step. Check your bank balance and face your reality. Because ignoring your financial situation is a choice, but so is facing it. And one leads to stress, the other leads to freedom. Number 3, write exactly how you wasted last week's time. Don't guess, don't generalize, don't sugarcoat it. Be specific, be honest, be brutal. Sit down with a piece of paper and write down exactly where your time went. That's one of the most uncomfortable but powerful things you can do if you want to improve your life. You're not doing this to feel bad. You're doing this to take back control. You can't fix what you don't face. And most people have no idea how much time they lose doing things that do nothing for their growth, their goals, or their peace of mind. Go back to Monday. Start from the moment you woke up. What did you do with the first hour of your day? Were you productive or were you distracted? Did you start with purpose or did you waste it on your phone, scrolling through things you don't even remember now? Don't leave it vague. Write down the time, the activity, and how you felt about it. You'll start to see a pattern, and patterns reveal the truth about how serious you really are. Now go through the rest of the day. How much time did you spend doing things that didn't matter? How much time did you spend reacting instead of acting? Who did you talk to that left you drained? How long did you sit in indecision, knowing what to do but not doing it? These hours add up. You don't lose your potential all at once. You lose it in pieces. 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there, an hour gone because you couldn't focus. The truth is, most people aren't lazy all day, but they're lazy in key moments. They waste time between tasks. They overthink small decisions. They chase distractions instead of results. If you write down the hours you spent doing that last week, you'll understand why things aren't moving. Not because you aren't capable, but because you weren't present. Because you weren't deliberate. Because you let your time get stolen without putting up a fight. What about the conversations you had? Were they valuable or were they just noise? Be honest. How many hours did you spend complaining, gossiping, going back and forth with someone who never listens anyway? Write it down. If it took 30 minutes, write 30 minutes wasted on complaining about something I still haven't fixed. That kind of clarity hits deep. It stings, but it wakes you up. Look at the content you consumed. How much of it actually helped you think better, work smarter, or live stronger? How much of it was just noise to avoid your own thoughts? Write down the videos, the podcasts, the posts, not just the names, but how long you spent on each. Write, watched 45 minutes of content that didn't change anything in my life. That level of truth will change you faster than any motivation video. This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about showing yourself what's really going on. Growth doesn't start with good intentions. It starts with accurate information. When you know exactly where your time went, you can make new decisions. You can build a better plan. You can protect your time like it matters. Because it does. Once it's gone, it's gone. Go back to the times you avoided something, that thing you knew you had to do but kept pushing off. How long did you spend thinking about it, worrying about it, talking about how much you needed to do it without actually doing it? Write that down. Avoidance eats your week without you even realizing it. It drains your energy and leaves you with nothing to show for it. Now ask yourself how often you switched tasks. How many times did you start something, get distracted, and jump to something else? That switch comes with a cost. Every time your attention breaks, you lose momentum, you lose clarity, you lose time. Even 5 or 10 seconds of distraction, multiplied by how many times it happened last week, adds up to hours you can't get back. Also write down the things you said yes to, even though you didn't want to. The events, the phone calls, the errands, the favors. All the time you gave away out of guilt or pressure or fear of disappointing someone. That time wasn't free. It came out of your energy, your focus, your schedule. Write it all down. You'll see how often you put yourself last in your own life. If you have goals, real goals, not just wishes, then every wasted hour matters. Not because you need to be perfect, but because you need to be aware. Awareness creates discipline, and discipline creates results. When you know where you slipped, you can tighten up. When you know what slowed you down, you can cut it out. But you can't fix what you refuse to write down. So don't just move into a new week without doing this. That's how people stay stuck. They don't track, they don't reflect, they just repeat. And then they wonder why things feel the same year after year. You can't build a better future with the same careless habits. You've got to sit down with a pen and write the truth, even if it hurts, especially if it hurts. And when you're done writing, look at the total. Add it up. Count the hours that went to things that gave you nothing. Not money, not peace, not progress, nothing. That number should make you feel something. Not shame, but urgency. You'll start to realize you've been giving away the one thing you can never replace. Now use that feeling to build a better week. Use it to get serious. Use it to start protecting your time like it matters. Because it does. More than anything, once it's gone, no amount of motivation can bring it back. The people who move forward in life aren't the ones with perfect routines. They're the ones who get honest about where they fall short. They're the ones who reflect, adjust, and keep improving. This is how you become that kind of person. You don't guess, you track, you write it down, you see the truth, and then you do something about it. That's how you turn wasted time into lessons, and that's how you stop repeating the same cycle every week. Number 4, list the people who drain your energy fast. Not because you want to hold a grudge, not because you're angry, but because your energy is your responsibility. You can't build anything meaningful if you're constantly surrounded by people who pull you in the wrong direction. You've got to know who's lifting you up and who's slowly wearing you down. This is not about being harsh or judgmental. This is about protecting your ability to grow, to think clearly, and to move forward without unnecessary emotional weight. Sit down and think back over your last 7 days. Who left you feeling exhausted after a conversation? Who made you question your goals? Who made you feel smaller after spending time with them? Not everyone in your life is meant to stay in the same position forever. Some people are in your life because you haven't yet made the choice to move them out. That's a choice you have to face if you're serious about improvement. It might be a friend you've known for years. It might be a family member who always sees the worst in you. It might be someone at work who always complains, always gossips, always brings a storm into every room they walk into. You know who they are. You feel it. Every time you finish interacting with them, you feel drained, distracted, irritated, or even guilty. That's a sign. Pay attention to it. Write down their names, not in anger, but in clarity. You're not making enemies. You're recognizing patterns. Energy drainers are not always loud. Sometimes they come off as kind, but what they bring into your space makes it harder for you to focus, to feel strong, or to stay grounded. One negative person in your weekly routine can pull your mindset 10 steps backward. One manipulative voice can make you doubt everything you're working toward. Don't tell yourself you're being too sensitive. That's how people stay stuck. They feel something's off, but ignore it out of guilt. They tell themselves to be the bigger person, while their energy gets eaten alive. That's not strength, that's self-abandonment. Real strength is knowing when someone doesn't deserve that much access to your mind. Go through each interaction you had last week. Look at your call history, your messages, your social media interactions. Every exchange is either helping you grow or slowing you down. Were there people who only reached out when they wanted something? People who never asked how you're doing but always unloaded their problems? People who made subtle comments that chipped away at your confidence? Be honest. Your energy doesn't lie. You might smile, you might nod, but when the call ends, when you walk away, you feel the drop, that tiredness, that frustration, that tension. Those are signs of energy loss. And energy is the fuel behind everything. Your discipline, your focus, your motivation. If you don't guard it, you'll keep running out of it before you even get started. This isn't about cutting people off without thought. This is about managing your access. You don't need to burn bridges. You need to build boundaries. Some people belong in your life, but not in your daily routine, not in your first hour of the day, not when you're planning your future. Learn to schedule them like any other responsibility, on your terms, not theirs. Write next to their names how they make you feel, not just what they say, but how you feel when you talk to them. Heavy, pressured, numb, that tells you everything. Don't overlook it. Your nervous system reacts to people before your logic does. If someone constantly leaves you feeling stressed or uneasy, That's a red flag, even if they say they love you. Now ask yourself, why do you keep allowing it? Is it guilt, obligation, fear of confrontation? That's what you need to deal with. Because the truth is, you teach people how to treat you. If you respond every time they call with chaos, they'll keep bringing it. If you never say no, they'll keep asking. If you laugh off their jabs, they'll keep throwing them. Your silence becomes permission. You have goals. You have a vision. You have things you're trying to build. You don't have time to be the emotional sponge for every person who refuses to deal with their own mess. You can care about people without carrying their weight. That's not selfish. That's survival. You'll never be your strongest self if you keep letting other people's drama live rent-free in your head. Start limiting time with those who constantly talk about others, never take responsibility, or pull you into pointless arguments. These people may not mean harm, but they create an atmosphere that weakens your mindset. And your mindset is everything. You cannot afford to have it poisoned by constant negativity, jealousy, or emotional instability. You need space to think, to plan, to reset, and that space is only possible when you remove the people who constantly create noise. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table, and just because you've known someone for a long time doesn't mean they're meant for your future. Loyalty means nothing when it's costing you your peace. This is about standards, about living intentionally. You don't rise by chance, you rise by choice. And one of the most important choices you make is who you allow around you on a regular basis. You don't owe constant access to anyone who isn't building with you, supporting you, or respecting you. Once you've written the list, decide what needs to change. Maybe you need to say no more often. Maybe you need to stop explaining yourself. Maybe you need to respond less. Or maybe you need to walk away from someone you've been making excuses for. Whatever it is, take action. Don't just make a list and forget it. That's how nothing changes. This is your energy we're talking about. Your clarity, your mental space. Don't give it away like it means nothing. Guard it, protect it, like your future depends on it, because it does. When your energy is strong, your decisions improve. Your mood improves, your consistency improves, and all of that leads to a better life. So write the list, look at it, then start making changes, small or big, but make them. You'll be surprised how much lighter you feel when you stop entertaining people who make your life heavier. And that's the kind of change that turns a draining week into a powerful one, every single time. Number 5, set one rule you refuse to break this week. That's how real change starts. Not with a list of 100 things, not with a perfect plan, but with one decision that you refuse to back down from. One personal standard that becomes non-negotiable. It can be simple, it can be small, but it must be solid. The kind of rule that no excuse can override. Because the moment you start letting yourself break your own rules, that's the moment discipline starts to weaken. And once that happens, everything else begins to slip. Most people live by convenience, not by commitment. They do what feels easy. They say things they don't follow through on. They treat goals like options. But the people who grow, who really improve, are the ones who create rules they live by. Even when it's hard, even when nobody's watching, even when nobody else cares. That's where real strength begins. Not when it's loud, but when it's private and personal. So ask yourself right now, what's one rule you can create this week that will sharpen you? It has to be something that hits a weakness head on. Maybe it's no social media after a certain hour. Maybe it's waking up at a fixed time no matter how you feel. Maybe it's no skipping workouts. Maybe it's no sugar. Maybe it's going to bed without your phone. It has to be specific. It has to matter. And most importantly, it has to challenge something you usually let slide. Once you pick the rule, write it down. Don't just think it. Don't just talk about it. Put it on paper. When it's written, it becomes real. You see it. You commit to it. You can't ignore it. And when you see it every day, you remember the promise you made to yourself. That's how self-respect grows. Not through motivation, but through honoring your own word. You can't build anything strong on a weak foundation, and your foundation is your discipline. If you can't follow through on one simple rule, you'll never stick with the bigger goals. So this isn't just a small exercise. It's a test. It's your chance to prove to yourself that your word still means something. And when you keep that one rule, something changes in you. You carry yourself differently. You trust yourself more. You stop depending on others to hold you accountable. This rule is for you, not for show, not for praise, just for you. It's a personal line that says, no matter what happens this week, this is one thing I will do. And the strength you build from that one line carries into everything else. It's not the rule itself, it's the discipline it creates. This also helps you avoid overwhelm. Most people fail because they try to fix everything at once. They set 10 new habits, they make giant promises. Then life happens. They get tired, they get busy, and everything collapses. But if you focus on one rule, one behavior, one standard, you give yourself a real shot at success. You make it manageable, you make it clear, and clarity leads to execution. Every time you feel like quitting, every time you feel the urge to slip, go back to the rule, read it, remind yourself why it matters. This is how you train your mind. You stop letting feelings decide your behavior. You stop letting your past patterns control your present. You start making decisions based on who you want to become, not what you feel like in the moment. You're not doing this to be perfect. You're doing this to build strength. Every time you keep the rule, no matter how small it seems, you're developing mental toughness, and that toughness builds momentum. It gives you proof. It reminds you that you are capable of controlling your actions, even when it's hard. Now understand, this rule is going to get tested. There will be a moment this week when you're tired, when you're annoyed, when you don't feel like holding the line. That's the moment that defines everything. It's not about how you feel when it's easy. It's about what you do when it's inconvenient. That's where character gets built. Not in the comfortable moments, but in the ones where you want to give in and don't. Nobody needs to see it. Nobody needs to applaud it. But you'll know you stayed strong when you could have slipped. And that feeling, that quiet pride, that's what makes the next step easier. That's what gives you real confidence. Not hype, not talk, but evidence. And if you break the rule, don't run from it. Don't make excuses. Own it. Write down when you broke it, why you broke it, what triggered it, and then recommit. Don't throw the whole week away because of one slip. That's what most people do. They fall once and then quit completely. But not you. You fall once and you use it. You learn from it. You adjust, and then you lock back in. That's the power of one rule. It teaches you how to focus, how to stay grounded, how to say no to things that used to own you. And when you can master that in one area, you can begin to apply it everywhere else. This is the mindset of someone who's serious. Someone who's done playing games with their time. Someone who's ready to show up for their life like it matters. Because it does. Your life won't change through wishful thinking. It will change when you start setting clear standards and sticking to them. So decide. Set your rule. Commit to it like it's non-negotiable. No matter what the world throws at you this week, you're holding that line. You're proving something to yourself. You're building something solid. And when you do that week after week, you won't have to hope for growth. You'll have built it with your own hands. One rule at a time. 1 week at a time. That's how strong people live. Number 6. Get dressed like you already have a mission. That means when your feet hit the floor, your appearance should reflect your direction. You don't wait until something important happens to start showing up like you're serious. You start with yourself. First thing in the morning, before the calls, before the work, before the emails. You look in the mirror and decide who you're going to be today. And the way you present yourself is your first message to the world. You're telling everyone, including yourself, how much this day matters. And if you dress like it doesn't matter, your actions will follow that message. You don't have to wear something expensive. You don't need a suit. This isn't about fashion. This is about attitude. This is about effort. This is about getting dressed with purpose. If your clothes make you feel tired, messy, or invisible, that's how you're going to act. But when you put on something that makes you feel ready, sharp, and focused, your energy shifts. It's not just about what others see. It's about how you carry yourself. Because how you carry yourself decides how you move through the day. A mission mindset doesn't begin when opportunity knocks. It begins when you choose to prepare before anything is guaranteed. You want to feel like a leader? Dress like someone who leads. You want to think clearly? Start with order, not chaos. You want to take yourself seriously? Then stop starting your day in the same sweatpants you slept in. There's a difference between comfort and carelessness. And the people who grow the fastest are the ones who understand that how you show up, even at home, even alone, sets the tone for everything else. When you dress with intention, it becomes harder to drift through the day. It's a trigger. You look in the mirror and see someone who's ready to make progress, someone who's here to get things done. You move faster, you think cleaner, you carry more pride. That feeling builds momentum. It's subtle, but it's real. You don't wait until you have a job interview, a meeting, or a reason. You become the reason. You build that energy from the inside and show it on the outside. If you keep telling yourself that it doesn't matter how you look as long as you're productive, ask yourself this: has that mindset helped you stay consistent? Because most people use that as an excuse. They lower their standard the second things get tough. And once one standard drops, the rest follow. You skip the shave, then you skip the workout, then you slack on the call, then you delay the task. It happens in layers. One small compromise at a time, until suddenly the whole day feels off and you don't even know why. But it started the moment you didn't act like your day was worth preparing for. There's discipline in getting ready even when you don't feel like it. Even when there's no one to impress. Even when you don't have somewhere to go, you're still showing up for you. You're respecting your own time. That kind of mindset builds strength, and when life throws challenges at you, that discipline will already be in place. You won't have to fake it. You'll already be prepared. This doesn't mean you need a perfect outfit. This means you need to be intentional, look clean, be sharp, wear something that reflects effort. Your effort is visible, and people can feel it even through a screen. They notice when you carry yourself with discipline, and more importantly, you notice it in yourself. You speak differently, you sit up straighter, you stop tolerating laziness. That's the impact of doing small things with serious intent. When you move like you've got a mission, even when nobody else sees it yet, life starts responding. People treat you with more respect, opportunities start showing up, and you don't feel like an imposter because you've already been preparing. That's not luck, that's preparation meeting opportunity. If your room is clean, your clothes are fresh, and you're standing tall before the day even begins, then you've already done what most people won't. You've already beat the first wave of resistance. You've already separated yourself from the average, because the average waits for motivation. The average waits for purpose to fall in their lap. But the committed, they wake up and act like their time matters. Every time you say it doesn't matter, you're reinforcing the mindset that your effort doesn't count unless someone's watching. But that's not how greatness is built. It's built in the silent hours. It's built when nobody's there to applaud. It's built when you do the right thing because it's the right thing, not because you're being judged. You can't live like your goals are far away if you want to reach them. You have to live like they're here now. That means showing up now, not when things feel easier, not when you're in the mood, but now. Get ready like you're about to do something important, because if you don't treat the day with importance, it'll slip by like all the others. What you wear is just one part. It's the symbol, it's the visual, it's the first move, but it sets the tone. It reminds your brain, I'm not here to drift, I'm here to lead. That switch in attitude will make you notice more. You'll feel less passive. You'll chase less comfort. You'll demand more from yourself, because you've already started the day by taking yourself seriously. This is not about image. This is about identity. You get dressed like someone who has somewhere to be, because even if your mission hasn't fully shown up yet, you're training yourself to be ready when it does. And readiness is not built in the big moments. It's built in the details. One of those details is what you wear. One of those details is how you start the morning. One of those details is how much pride you put into your personal standard. And when you do this day after day, it becomes normal. It becomes who you are. You won't need to think about it. You'll just move with strength. You'll act with purpose. You'll carry the energy of someone who respects their time. And that energy will bleed into everything you touch. Your work, your relationships, your focus, all of it will rise. So stop waiting for an occasion. You are the occasion. Start treating every day like it matters. Get up, get ready, get dressed like you're going somewhere. Because mentally, you are. And the world respects those who respect themselves first. That begins with how you carry yourself before anything even begins. Every morning, every week, every mission. Number 7, write a promise you won't let yourself break. Not one you make in the heat of emotion, not one you say to feel good in the moment, but a real promise, one that carries weight, one that holds you accountable, even when it gets uncomfortable. That's how people begin to change. They don't just talk about their goals. They don't just repeat positive words. They sit down, face their life, and make a decision, a real one. They choose something they're no longer willing to compromise on, and they put their name on it. Most people break promises to themselves more often than they realize. They say, I'll start eating better. Then they don't. They say, I'll wake up early. But they hit snooze again. They say, I'll stop wasting time. Then they scroll through distractions for hours. These little broken promises might seem harmless at first, but they carry consequences. Not because of the task itself, but because of what it does to your mind. Every time you break your own word, you lose trust in yourself. And when that trust disappears, it gets harder and harder to believe in anything you say about your future. So this week, it's time to make a promise that actually matters. One that is clear, one that has meaning, one that forces you to rise above your excuses. This isn't about being perfect. It's about setting a line you refuse to cross. Because the truth is, without personal rules, life will pull you in every direction. One moment you're focused, the next you're back in your old pattern. You can't build anything strong when you're that inconsistent. Write the promise down. Not in your head, not just in your thoughts, on paper, ink to page. Make it visible. When it's written, it becomes a standard, and standards shape behavior. This promise could be as simple as no missed workouts this week, or no negative self-talk, or finish one hard task every day. It has to be something that matters to you personally, not what sounds impressive to others. You're not doing this for praise. You're doing this to start earning back your self-respect. The act of keeping your own promise is powerful because it's private. Nobody needs to see it, but you feel it. Every time you choose to honor your own word, something inside you gets stronger. You stop waiting for someone to push you. You stop needing permission. You stop blaming others for your delay. You begin to operate from within. That's real power. That's when progress becomes personal. Now, don't expect it to be easy. The promise you make is going to get tested. That's part of it. Life will throw interruptions. Your mood will shift. The old voice in your head will try to pull you back into comfort. But comfort is where your potential dies. It's not the struggle that's dangerous. It's the silence, the drifting, the passive days where you forget what you committed to. That's why the promise must stay in front of you. Read it every morning. Say it out loud if you have to. Let it be the anchor that keeps you from floating into distraction. And when you reach that moment of temptation, when you want to skip the work, when you want to break the rule, when you want to take the easy way out, remember this: every action is either building or breaking you. You're not just deciding what to do, you're deciding who you're becoming. That's what the promise protects. It's not about the task, it's about the identity you're choosing to honor. You've spent enough time talking about change, enough time waiting for the right moment, enough time letting motivation decide your effort. This promise is your way of saying, I've had enough of that. It's your line in the sand. It's not for anyone else, it's yours. And when you make it, when you say it with full intention, something shifts inside you. That's where real growth begins. People around you might not notice it right away, but you will. You'll feel more alert, more in control, more confident, because you're no longer negotiating with yourself. You're no longer bouncing between excuses and regret. You're moving forward, not perfectly, but deliberately. And that's what makes the difference between a week that passes and a week that changes you. Don't let your past promises, broken ones, define what you can do now. The past is done, but what you decide this week and how you follow through is what shapes what comes next. If you've made promises before and let yourself down, good. Let that sting push you to do it right this time. You don't need to prove anything to anyone else. You need to prove it to yourself. Take ownership of your word. If you say it, do it. If you commit to it, follow through. If you write it, live by it. That consistency builds something deeper than confidence. It builds pride. Not pride in what others think of you, but pride in how you operate. You begin to walk taller, not because life got easier, but because you showed up for yourself. And here's the truth. One strong promise kept is better than 10 goals ignored. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't make a list so long that you fail by default. Just pick one. One action, one behavior, one standard, and lock it in. Then honor it like it's your name on the line, because it is. As the week unfolds, check yourself. Don't wait until it's too late. Midday, ask yourself, am I staying true to the promise? Before bed, ask again. And if you didn't, don't lie about it, own it. Then get back on track the next day. No shame, just action. The goal isn't to be flawless. The goal is to become someone who keeps showing up, no matter what. You don't need to announce it. You don't need validation. Just make the promise. Keep the promise. Repeat the process. That's the system that leads to results. Not hype, not noise. Just one clear commitment honored again and again until it becomes who you are. That's how transformation happens. Quietly, consistently, personally. And it starts the moment you decide that this week, there's one thing you're not going to let slide. One promise, one standard, one rule you live by, no matter what comes. And when you hold that line, everything else begins to change. Because now you're not hoping to improve. You're committed to it. And commitment always beats intention. Every time. Number 8. Stop pretending you don't know what to fix. You already know. You've known for a while. It's that habit you keep justifying. It's that one behavior that keeps dragging you backward. It's the excuse you always run to when you don't feel like being responsible. You don't need more time to figure it out. You don't need another plan, another book, another voice to tell you what's wrong. You've had enough signs. You've had enough moments of frustration. Deep down, you know exactly what's keeping you stuck. It might be how you waste your mornings. It might be how you handle your emotions. It might be your inconsistency, your laziness, your attitude, or your refusal to confront the truth about how you live. You don't need to keep hiding behind confusion. You're not confused. You're just not committed yet. And that's the difference between staying where you are and finally moving forward. People don't stay stuck because they don't know what to change. They stay stuck because change feels uncomfortable. It requires effort. It exposes your weakness. It takes away your excuses. But that's exactly why it works. If you sat down right now and wrote down the top 3 things holding you back, you could do it in under 2 minutes. That's how obvious it is. The problem isn't knowledge. The problem is honesty. You've built habits around avoiding what needs your attention. You distract yourself with busyness. You tell yourself you're trying, but really you're stalling. And every time you say, I don't know what to do, you give yourself permission to stay the same. You give yourself a way out, but that way out is costing you your growth. You don't need more motivation. You need truth. You need to sit in the silence and ask yourself the real questions. What are you tired of feeling? What behavior is exhausting you? What's the one thing, if you fixed it, would make everything else easier? That answer is sitting right in front of you, but you've trained yourself to look everywhere else. It's easier to scroll. It's easier to talk about goals. It's easier to complain, but none of that moves you forward. You can't build a better life if you're not willing to face the part of you that's been making it worse. That version of you, the one that avoids, delays, blames, and escapes, is the one you need to let go of. But you can't let go of it if you're pretending it's not there. You have to call it out, not with hate, not with guilt, with clarity, with courage, with a decision to stop carrying the dead weight of your own denial. You've got to stop saying, I'll figure it out later. Later turns into never. And the more you delay facing what needs to be fixed, the deeper the damage goes. It shows up in your routines. It shows up in your attitude. It shows up in your relationships. And eventually, it becomes your identity. You start calling yourself stuck when all you really are is avoiding what needs your attention. Look at your patterns, not your goals, not your dreams, your patterns. That's where the truth lives. How you spend your time, how you respond to pressure, how you deal with discomfort. That's what shapes your life, not what you say you want. So stop pretending you're lost. You're not lost. You're distracted. You're disconnected from your own responsibility. But that can change. The moment you choose to stop avoiding what's obvious is the moment everything starts to shift. You don't need a full blueprint to start fixing things. You just need to stop lying to yourself. If you've been lazy, call it out. If you've been emotionally reactive, own it. If you've been chasing comfort, admit it. That kind of honesty is rare. That kind of honesty is where transformation begins. It's not easy, but it's clean, it's real, and it's what separates the ones who stay stuck from the ones who rise. There's power in saying, this is where I've gone wrong. It gives you a foundation to build from. It brings your focus to the right place. When you stop avoiding what you need to fix, you free up your energy. You stop wasting time on distractions. You stop spinning in circles. You start gaining clarity. You start taking ownership. And with ownership comes strength. This week, instead of chasing perfection, chase responsibility. Instead of listing more goals, identify the one weakness that's draining your potential. Not 5, just 1. Fix that. Get specific. Give it a name. Set a standard around it. Track your actions. If you slip, don't run from it. Study it. Learn from it. Stay locked in. Because nothing will change unless you do. You already know what needs to go. You already know what needs to improve. You've had moments of awareness, moments where you said, this isn't who I want to be. Don't ignore those moments. They came from a deeper place in you, the part of you that's still fighting for something better. Listen to that voice, not the one that makes excuses, not the one that delays, the one that says, fix this now, and don't wait for someone else to tell you. You don't need permission. You don't need advice on what you already know. You just need to act quietly, consistently, daily. Take one step today, not toward a new goal, but toward fixing what's already broken. That's what builds confidence. That's what earns progress. That's what brings peace. The truth is, you don't need to keep searching. You need to start deciding to stop tolerating your own avoidance, deciding to stop pretending everything is fine when it's not, deciding to take your potential seriously. That decision changes everything. And it starts now, not tomorrow, not when life slows down. Now, that's the real starting point. The moment you stop pretending, the moment you finally face what needs fixing and get to work on it like your future depends on it, because it does. Number 9, turn off noise and sit with your real thoughts. Not the filtered ones. Not the ones you rehearse when someone asks how you're doing. The real ones. The ones you push away every time your phone lights up. The ones you bury under music, videos, group chats, constant notifications. That noise isn't harmless. It's a shield you use to avoid what's actually going on inside. You call it entertainment. You call it staying connected. But deep down, you know it's keeping you distracted. You know you've built a habit of avoiding yourself. You can't improve anything you keep escaping from. If you want to make better choices, if you want to stop living on autopilot, you have to sit in silence and hear what's actually happening inside your own head. Because your life doesn't change through more noise. It changes when you take the time to listen to yourself without interference. That's the part most people never do. They don't want to face what they've been thinking, so they keep drowning it out. And you'll notice it. The second you turn everything off, you'll feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not a problem, it's a signal. It's your mind trying to process the mess you've been ignoring. You might feel restless. You might feel anxious. You might start thinking about something you haven't dealt with in years. That's the point. That's why silence matters. It gives space for the truth to rise. Not the polished version, the real one. The part of you that's been waiting to be heard but keeps getting silenced by scrolling and noise. Sit down. No music, no background voices, no notifications, just you and your thoughts. Watch how fast your mind tries to reach for something, a distraction, a task, anything but stillness. That's how dependent you've become on noise to feel okay. And if you're that uncomfortable being alone with your own thinking, that's exactly why you need to do it. Because the longer you avoid your thoughts, the more disconnected you become from yourself. And when you're disconnected from yourself, you start making choices that go against who you are. Clarity doesn't come from someone else giving you answers. It comes from you getting quiet enough to hear your own. There are solutions in you that never get a chance to show up because your mind is never silent long enough to find them. You don't need another podcast. You don't need another quote. You need to sit with your thoughts and let them play out without interruption. That's where direction comes from. That's where personal truth gets uncovered. Most people avoid silence because it feels too honest. When there's no noise, there's nothing to hide behind. You start seeing the lies you've told yourself. You start recognizing the places where you've been lazy, dishonest, or afraid. But facing those things doesn't break you. It frees you. It gives you the power to make different choices. It gives you a clean place to begin again. You'll notice things you've buried, regrets, disappointments, forgotten ideas. You'll start to see what matters and what doesn't. And most importantly, you'll remember who you actually are when nobody else is around. That version of you is the one you need to reconnect with, not the image, not the performer, the real one, the one behind all the roles and responsibilities. When you spend time in silence, you regain control over your thoughts. You stop reacting to everything. You stop rushing. You stop feeling like you're always behind. Because silence slows things down. It clears the fog. It resets your nervous system. And from that calm, decisions become easier. You don't feel as overwhelmed. You don't feel pulled in 10 directions. You know what needs to be done because you've taken the time to hear it from yourself, not from the outside world. This is one of the most practical things you can do to build a better life. It costs nothing. It requires no special tools, just the courage to be alone with your mind. That's where real growth happens. Not when you're consuming more, but when you're finally listening to what's already been inside you. Make it a practice. Even 10 minutes a day, no input, no stimulation, just you. Sitting, thinking, breathing, noticing. Ask yourself hard questions. What am I avoiding? What am I pretending not to know? What decision am I delaying? What emotion keeps coming up that I haven't dealt with? These questions don't need immediate answers. You just need space for them to show up. Don't expect it to feel easy. Your mind will resist. It's used to being fed. It's used to being entertained. But with time, you'll realize how much power there is in stillness. You'll start to crave that space, not as an escape, but as a home base. A place to come back to when life gets loud, because life will always get loud. But you don't have to get lost in it. You can choose to unplug. You can choose to reset. You can choose to sit in silence and find yourself again. The quality of your thinking determines the quality of your life, and your thinking improves when it's not constantly interrupted. Silence isn't the absence of progress, it's the foundation of it. You don't gain clarity by running faster. You gain it by stopping long enough to look around. That's what silence gives you, a moment to check in. To ask, is this who I want to be? And if the answer is no, then you can do something about it. Turn off the noise, just for a while. Turn off the shows, the apps, the updates. You're not going to miss anything important. What's important is your inner life, your peace, your direction. And you can't find any of that in noise. You find it when you get quiet enough to hear yourself clearly. This isn't about meditation. This isn't about spirituality. This is about getting honest with the one person you can't run from yourself. And when you sit with your real thoughts day after day, you stop being afraid of them. You start understanding them. You start choosing better. Not because someone told you to, but because you finally gave yourself the space to figure it out. That's where the shift begins. Not in the noise, but in the silence, where all the answers have been waiting. Number 10. Say out loud what you must stop doing now, not later. Not when life calms down. Not after another excuse. Say it now. Speak the thing you know is dragging you down. The habit, the attitude, the behavior that you keep justifying but never fixing. You know exactly what it is. It's not a mystery. You feel it every time you repeat it. You feel it in the guilt, in the frustration, in the regret that hits you when the day ends. And you know you didn't do what you were supposed to. That thing you keep doing that keeps you stuck. It has to be named and it has to stop. And the first step is saying it, not in your head, not with vague language. Out loud. You need to hear your own voice speak the truth, because when you speak it, you face it. When you say the words clearly without filters, it forces your brain to stop pretending. Most people live in denial because they never say things directly. They use soft language. They say things like, I kind of need to work on that, or I should stop doing that eventually. That doesn't move you. That doesn't shift anything inside. But when you say it out loud exactly as it is, I need to stop wasting my mornings, or I need to stop running to comfort every time I'm stressed, something clicks. It becomes real. Avoidance grows in silence. But honesty grows when you speak. This is not for show. This is not for social media. This is for you. This is about standing in front of your own life and declaring what no longer fits, what no longer helps, what no longer matches the person you're trying to become. And the faster you do this, the faster you take back control. You've been carrying behaviors that don't belong in your future. You've normalized them. You've made them part of your routine, and maybe you've even convinced yourself they're harmless. But deep down, you know they've been slowing you down. You know they've been stealing your time, your energy, your belief. But nothing changes until you stop hiding it. Say it. Hear yourself say it. There's power in that moment. It's a decision. This is not about shame. This is not about being hard on yourself. This is about clarity. This is about taking responsibility in a world where most people just float through life without ever checking themselves. You don't have to be like that. You can live different. You can decide to take control over what you're allowing in your life. And the moment you do that, you start gaining strength. Ask yourself right now, what's the one thing you're doing that you know has to stop? What's that pattern that keeps showing up and costing you progress? Don't sugarcoat it. Don't try to make it sound better than it is. Just say it. I need to stop avoiding hard work. I need to stop making excuses for my laziness. I need to stop wasting hours on things that give me nothing back. Say it with force. Say it with clarity. And when you do, you'll feel it hit different. That's where momentum begins. You've spent enough time explaining your behavior, enough time acting like you don't have control, but you do. You've always had the power to change. You've just been avoiding the confrontation. But that ends when you finally speak the truth out loud. When you say the thing that needs to stop, and you say it like you mean it, you shift your mind from tolerance to action. You stop being okay with your own patterns. You stop living under the illusion that change can wait. When you hear yourself say it, there's no going back. You've exposed it. You've made it real. Now, every time you go back to that habit, you'll hear your own voice reminding you. You'll feel the discomfort rise faster. You'll feel the tension because your standard has changed. You've set a new line, and crossing it no longer feels normal. That's what creates growth. Not force, but awareness. Not guilt, but responsibility. If you really want to start a new chapter in your life, this is how it begins. Not with a big goal, not with a perfect plan, but with one moment of raw honesty. One clear sentence spoken with full intent. That's the foundation. That's the start of real discipline. And from there, everything changes. You have to be done with certain things. Fully done. Not I'll try to stop, but I'm not doing this anymore. Because until you get to that point, nothing sticks. You can set goals, you can make vision boards, you can read books, but as long as the behavior stays, your life won't move. It's not about adding more. It's about removing what doesn't belong, cutting out the weight, clearing the fog, making space for better habits to grow. Say it again if you have to. Say it every day if that's what it takes. Your brain listens. Your body responds. The more you hear yourself speak with strength, the more that strength becomes your default. And when that happens, you start catching yourself before you fall back. You start feeling the shift. You start choosing better, not because you're trying to be perfect, but because you're no longer okay with being careless. This is how real people make real change. They don't wait for someone else to intervene. They intervene themselves. They say, I'm done with this. And they say it with such conviction that their own behavior starts falling into line. It's not instant, but it's real and it lasts. This week, your job is not to fix everything. Your job is to break the silence, to speak the one thing you must stop doing now, out loud, like you mean it, like your future depends on it, because it does. The life you want is on the other side of that decision. You don't need to get there all at once, but you need to start now. Say it, face it, stop it. That's how strong people live. That's how change becomes real. And it starts with your voice, right now. If you want a better life, start by building a better week. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for someone to push you. Take what you've heard today and apply it. One decision at a time, one change at a time. The way you begin your week sets the tone for everything else. Show up like it matters, because it does. Hold yourself to a higher standard, not once in a while, but every single Monday. Start strong. Stay focused. And don't forget, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. This is how winners build their life.